I'm intending to run this quite informally, and I'm intending to get everyone to say lots of things briefly, and then I would like to end with the roving mic traveling around and giving people in the audience a chance to say something. We've got about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, so I will be watching the time. But to start with, instead of me mumbling through CVs that I've got, I thought the first round would be to just ask each of you very briefly to introduce yourselves and what you think is important. And I know you all are multidimensional people who've done all sorts of things, but to just highlight your work in innovation. So just who you are, where you're from, and what have you done in innovation? Matsi.
Great, thank you, Prof. Barry. I'm Matsi Modise. I am an ex-Witsi. I used to walk around the streets of this university, and I'm so excited to be here today. So I'm a technology investor. I also have a technology startup. I'm also the chairperson of the Technology Innovation Agency of South Africa, and I do a lot of work in promoting progressive policy reform for high-impact, high-growth technology startups in South Africa.
Thank you, Matsi. Natlia.
Thank you, Barry. Hi, colleagues. I'm Dean of Science here at Wits University. I guess I first got involved in this conversation around thoughts on the future of our doctoral training around South Africa. We are trying to attract more and more PhDs into our research programs, but of course, as you know, the academic jobs are really far and few in between. So it's just an absolute must. We have no choice whatsoever but to train for innovation. And so over the past couple of years, engaging with folk like Barry, Lynn, of course, the Vice Chancellor has helped set up the environment where these conversations can take place. And we're beginning to think much more seriously about how we can mainstream innovation. Prof. Lynn Morris asked a little earlier, why do we need a WIC? To a large extent, Wits has been very innovative over the years, but much of that has been somewhat on the periphery, and I'd like to see the ideas of innovation being brought much more into the mainstream. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Natsia. And we've met you, Adam, but maybe just a bit about yourself and your innovation.
Thanks very much. I mentioned my previous role, which was in the School of Electrical and Information Engineering in the Faculty of Engineering in the Built Environment, and I was trained in biomedical and electrical engineering, and I went and embarked on a series of, I suppose, innovative projects, trying to connect up humans with computers in different ways, whether it would be to drive a wheelchair with your eyes, or to be able to control an internet activity using your brain by live streaming your neurological system onto the internet in a project we did called BrainTernet. There were a variety of projects in that space that I did here at Wits, which I considered to be partially innovation. And then I've had some experience out in industry around innovation too, where I've co-founded some companies, all involved in for good work. And that's why this role, really innovation for good at Wits, using the incredible infrastructure we have, really appealed to me, because I've seen the transformative power that innovation can have in the industry when you get to some level of scale and you're able to, at massively low cost, just change the lives of people out there. So that's been my journey, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Adam.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Barry Swartzberg. I'm a founder of Discovery. 31 years ago, I'm still there. I was an entrepreneur. Now I'm growing a business. A lot harder growing a big business than being an entrepreneur, that I can tell you. Anyway, glad to be here.
I'm Wendy Stevens. I think I resonated with everything Dr. Fine said. My attention span is about 2 years for a project. I believe I work in diagnostics, and I think if after the COVID epidemic you didn't realize diagnostics were important, I think you do. You really know now. The work I've done has been over a 20-year period, so I'm getting past where the youth need to come in and the space. but we've been responsible for taking innovation, assays, algorithms, and rolling out most of South Africa's HIV programs. Those took decades to get on the go. And then I had the cheek to go and do TB work. Now, I was a hematologist by training, so you can imagine the first union meeting I went to, they thought, what is this woman doing here? After the first meeting, I realized that nothing had changed in 100 years. And so the concept of someone from the outside coming in is really important. So I think there's very little investment in the research and development of diagnostics, but our team has sort of become, we Mrs. Fix-Its. You know, during the COVID epidemic, we actually were responsible for all the assays that were used in country, which went to about 290 odd assays. And that was with a very small team who were very motivated. So I have a very short attention span. I also believe that one of the biggest things that came out of the COVID epidemic was done by a 24-year-old engineer who did not know anything about the disease. And he made us quite famous at a ministerial level, but he didn't know anything about the program. So I agree with you too. But just to be a bit more serious, diagnostics is not valued as much as clinical work. Yet you cannot treat someone without a diagnostic. So there's massive investment in the implementation of diagnostics and that basic science that goes nowhere. But there's very little investment in the group of people who just want to make things work. And I can say that I think that's what we've been able to do over a period of a long time. Along the way, losing quite a lot of intellectual property because health is needs-based innovation, and sometimes the person needs the product before you've even been able to think about the intellectual property. So we need the WIC. We need the ability to translate a lot more of what we do into intellectual property. So I'm the new head of the Diagnostic Innovation Hub, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I remain linked to the National Priority Program, largely for us to be able to prove that scalability and sustainability is also important in this part of the world. So product development is one thing. Making it sustainable in this setting is totally different. So, sorry, I hope I didn't take too long, but once I get started, I can't stop.
I can hear the passion. Yaya.
I'm Yaya Tunara. I direct the unit of the Wits Advanced Drug Delivery Platform. It's not disputed as taking medicines to the homes in terms of drug delivery. This is actually in the pharmaceutical sciences, where we're looking at improving pharmaceutical product development. So basically, we all know that drugs have exciting properties, one of it being treating disease and illness. But many of them are plagued by poor solubility, harmful side effects, things that go wrong in the process of making new drugs. So my team is involved in obviously repackaging these molecules into more efficacious medication that can obviously solve problems and make it more patient-centric therapeutics for the world. 43 patents later, I'm sitting here as part of representing my team. And obviously our goal is to innovate. We're doing this for over 17 years now. I lead a team of a lean and mean team of researchers in the pharmaceutical sciences. And you know, the thing is these molecules are being developed all the time, API, drug discovery, but there's no way of actually packaging them into more patient-centric ways. I mean, the ways we take if I link on to what you just said now, why does vaccine have to be injectable? What about topical therapeutics? What are easier ways of doing things in terms of the pharmaceutical product development? And that's basically the focus. So nanomedicine and advanced drug delivery is the two areas. So we answered the question of how do we get a drug at a specific site, specific time, at the right dose for every patient, rather than what is currently happening where you just dump a whole lot of drug in the body and it's all of side effects. No drug has no side effects. Everything is, that's why we call it an effect and a side effect. But how do we minimize the gap of side effects? And that's the focus of our innovation and my team at the WADDP.
Thank you, Yaya.
Okay. Evening, Barry, and good evening to everybody. You'll see that my name isn't printed on the piece of paper. That's because I wasn't supposed to be a panelist tonight. but I somehow ended up becoming a panelist. I'm the Chief Technical Innovation Officer, Technical and Innovation Officer for Sibanye-Stillwater. So I'm responsible for all the technical aspects in the organisation. And innovation is huge in our organisation. We've always had 5 values. But this year, we've changed our values and we've added innovation to the list of values. So innovation actually features in the values in our organisation. And everything we do in our organisation is based on our values. So that just highlights the importance that we put to innovation. Now, my job is not to come up with rocket science and new ways of doing things and so on. I think that my job is to encourage and instill a culture of innovation within our organisation so that everybody in our organisation comes up with new and better ways of doing things. So mine, as head of innovation in our company, is to establish a culture of innovation in our organisation.
Thank you so much. And please, can you tell us your name?
Okay, sorry for that. Robert Dag. And I also graduated at Wits about 30 years ago.
Thank you, Robert. So we kind of know who's on the platform here, and we know we're talking tonight about innovation, but we're talking about it in the context of being innovation at a university. And to be brutally honest, we are an excellent research university. Wits ranks really highly in terms of research. We don't rank as highly in terms of innovation. And my next question is really, if you can throw some thoughts out, just very briefly, what are the bottlenecks? What makes it hard to take research at a university and get it out there? What are the critical things we should look to change to make us more in tune with turning our research into innovation? Matthew?
It's a great question, Prof. Barry, and it's a big gap and also a very big missed opportunity for South Africa. With all the talent that we have a beautiful country, but we consume more than we create. That's reality. And there's no shortage of ideas. I think Dr. Fine did speak to, in anything you do every day, you are creative, you are creating something, you are innovative. But what is missing is a sense of collaboration, a sense of working together, a sense of being inclusive, a sense of creating an ecosystem and a value chain of innovation. Because in our own unique environments, as let's say the Technology Innovation Agency, which I head, we do support financial, non-financial support for entrepreneurs, but where do they come from, right? Institutions like Wits University are very, very important, but how do we connect ourselves? How do we link with everybody else? And an institution like Wits has a lot of resources, right? We have the opportunity of attracting endowments, such as the one that Dr. Fine was kind enough to give to the university. But there are lots of universities in rural areas and peri-urban areas that would not have the ability to attract such funding. How do we incubate them? How do we work with them? How do we share what we have and ensure that young people in rural areas, young people in townships are able to also benefit from such endowments? So I think South Africa, we like to work in silos. We pride ourselves in the wonderful things that we do and the wonderful things we're able to attract. But until we collaborate better, until we're inclusive, we are not going to be able to have a very enriched ecosystem and value chain of innovation. And it has to start with us believing that as a collective we can win this innovation, because there's no reason why we should not be top in the list of innovative countries. South Africa is very innovative. Look at us now during load shedding. We're still standing. We're still here. We still have lights, right? That's innovation on its own. So I think we need to collaborate more and just be more inclusive.
So I hear collaboration and joining the dots as important. Nithya, what would you say?
So to start with, you've mentioned that Wits is a great research-led university. I wouldn't want us to dilute our research efforts. I believe that a high-quality research endeavor is the basis for us to drive our innovation plans and programs. For far too long, have policymakers, funding agents, thought leaders try to drive universities in the direction of more applied science. But after a while, you don't have quality science to apply if you do not have a quality research underpinning of the university. So with a strong research endeavor and backing at Wits, I think we can grow our innovation and along the lines of what's been mentioned, develop more collaborative spaces. I'd like to see our students particularly work in multidisciplinary teams, working on common problems like the way that David mentioned. Now the question is, can Wits really lead? Innovation is alive and well right across the world, from South Korea, Japan to European nations, the United States. Do we have a unique advantage right here at Wits University in Johannesburg? I believe it is the case, and David and I have spoken about the need for us to think about cheaper but yet more effective solutions. I think in there we have a great advantage. I can't imagine that folk sitting out, say, at a very modern facility out in the Northern Hemisphere are really always thinking about the cheapest but yet most effective solution. Many solutions come with far too many bells and whistles that we hardly ever use. I think if we're more focused on a solution that's effective and that is cost effective, I think we can go a long way. And also, Wits I do see as a gateway into Africa. So whilst we are innovating at Wits, I think we can be inspired about growing our ideas and thoughts into Africa and involving the rest of our continent. You want to be inspired by problems, isn't it? Not look for a problem that suits your solution, but really focus on problems. And of course, by peering over over our boundaries into other African countries, I would like to see us grow our collaborations that way as well, Barry.
Thank you. So it's about partnerships. It's about using our position to work with others. Adam, what would you say?
I guess I'm thinking about this great tension between innovation and research that does exist, and I think that we're figuring out how we can keep our research ecosystem going while enabling innovators to get stuff out the door at the right time and at the right touch points during their journey. So I think we've got to figure that bit out about how we can't have research really impeding innovation, and we certainly can't have innovation impeding research. And I think, to pick up on what Nithya's just said, we in South Africa have an extraordinary number of problems in our society that are unique to us. And that can really bring out something extraordinary from within us. We can't wait for others to come and assist us to solve our problems. Like Matsi pointed out, we are solving our own problems and we have to do so. So I think we have a really unique opportunity to solve South Africa's own problems with our innovators here who understand how South Africa works, what our social and what our climate or what our issues look like and the unique nature of them. And then to really use the resources, minds and skills across the university as an extraordinary platform to hopefully alleviate some of this societal strife that we all see daily. And that's really an important mandate.
So you are saying something that I've often said, is that South Africa and Africa are blessed with many problems. We are lucky we've got so many problems because there's so much scope for innovation.
Yeah. Adversity leads innovation.
Yeah. Yes. So you, Barry, come not from a university environment. But from your viewpoint in commerce and industry, what do you think universities should be doing to increase the translation of research into innovation?
Well, as David Fine was saying earlier on, effectively being an entrepreneur or innovator is actually anti-establishment. That's why everyone has a problem, because the establishment tries to force you down, right? So actually, it's all about, not in a detrimental way being anti-establishment. You've got to be anti-establishment. You've got to have that thinking, that ethos, etc. So how do you actually, you've got to create that kind of environment where it's acceptable to be anti-establishment. I mean, in an environment where people can present with this, no, you won't have anyone jeering at the back saying that idea won't work, etc. You actually got to create that kind of environment. And I think, certainly in our company, we try and do that. We have innovation, for every year. Like, for example, people need to come with their ideas, and it's actually, we do it formally. So we try and formalize anti-establishment.
Yeah. And I think that Discovery certainly puts its money where its mouth is in terms of innovation. And I think it really shows. Wendy, what do you think?
So I mean, I'm called, recently I've been called ungovernable. That's not really what I am, but in my department, you're allowed to, well, in my new division and in my old, you weren't restricted as to what work you could do. The routine work had to go out, but any other idea was acceptable. And in many cases, the university structures and the structures we work in are pretty rigid. And, one of the other sayings we have is not necessity is the mother of invention, but sometimes ask for forgiveness and not permission. And I'm probably not being appropriate and going to get into trouble somewhere again, but you have to instill that kind of thinking. I agree with you completely, and it's often I don't agree with Discovery, but I really do agree that and there's always the one thing I think you have to be good at is talent, the ability to pick talent. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. The light in the eyes comes in, you can see the light in the eyes of that student or that worker very quickly. And those are the ones you need to invest in the most. But I think the difficulty for us is, and the difficulty for our team, is we straddle many places because of the diagnostic work we do. We are, however, very good at working in the region. We have projects that extend all the way up to Liberia, and so have had that experience. COVID has put a little bit of a dampener on that. But I do think our environments are too complex sometimes, and we're hoping the WIC, the complexity of trying to get intellectual property done when you've got 10 people involved or you've got 10 collaborators is actually very difficult. And I think we have been good about working across the university, and I saw David Rubin. Some of the most successful students we've had are the ones we set up a biomedical engineering degree. And perhaps the only faculty we're not working well with, we work with geography, economics, governance, is legal. And I think that's what we have to invest in going forward.
Thank you, Wendy. So I hear the maverick, the need to be mavericks and to be able to work within an environment that sometimes blocks maverick. I think as well that I'm hearing this need to be agile. I think universities are not agile places, and we have to find and make agility to be innovative. Yaya, what's your thought?
And so I want to touch on the culture of innovation. I think the innovation starts at undergrad level, not at postgrad and postdoc. So changing curriculum innovation is very important for that thread to happen. So for example, in our program, we partnered with one of the largest pharma companies in South Africa to create a pharma apprentice program to get the students from that level, undergrad thinking, as employers, not employees, as Dr. Fine has mentioned, because that is where the critical thinking skills come. So when they have their B.Pharm degree or pharmacy degree, it's not about going out to get a job at the nearest clicks or this game, so I have nothing else or discovery. but it's about creating jobs and through innovation. So if you can arm them with a product developed or some kind of innovation, a patent, they can have potential business in their hand if some investor wants to buy that. And that's the culture of innovation from undergrad level, and bringing what we call the boardrooms into classrooms, the real world. Because I think as academics sometimes we don't really know the definition of academic freedom. Academic freedom doesn't really mean you can do what you want. You know, you can research lots of things that don't make any sense. And that's not academic freedom. So academic freedom, we need to define it in terms of innovation to say that what is the world needs, what society needs, and then take that back into the labs, and you don't do science for library shelves. I mean, I tell my students that if you're doing this research for degree purposes, it's very selfish. It's not for degree purposes. We'll tick that box and we'll get the papers and the publications. But if you're doing that using public funds, you need to give back to society. So the projects that we do and the research that we do and what ideas you come up with needs to impact society. And that's the culture, you know, all through the culture of innovation and how we... And then the other thing is solution shops. You know, we don't capture innovation well enough. It's not about counting the number of patents you have. As Dr. Fine has also mentioned, you can have thousands of patents. But sometimes we provide solution shops to industry. So for example, we're working now with the second largest pharma company in South Africa to reformulate one of the products, which some of you in this room took it this morning after breakfast. It's a nutraceutical. But that's not captured as innovation, but it's going to be out there and it's going to help people in this room. But there's no patent that's for that. It's like I said in the other talk, Coca-Cola, the formula for Coca-Cola, nobody has, it's not a patent, but it's such a big brand. So it's different types of innovation that's happening within our spaces which are not being captured well enough. And I think we, as Wits, are innovating a lot as solution shop. That comes through our research as well. Because, and I agree with Prof. Chetty that you cannot dilute the research because it creates reputational currency that's necessary for innovation.
Thank you, yeah. And what are your thoughts, Robert, coming from the mining company or the world of mining where I guess mavericks don't do well in mining given all the health and safety issues, but what about innovation in your world and how Wits could support it?
Well, the mavericks don't do so well with health and safety, but when it comes to growing an organisation and diversifying an organisation, the mavericks actually do exceptionally well. I also resonated with just about everything that Dr. Fine said and with everything that's been said here already. Now, we partner with Wits and we partner with tertiary institutions for new innovation, for new ideas, for new ways of doing things. And I personally think this Vic is a very, very good idea. And let me put it out there, we are prepared to partner with Vic as well, you know, if that opportunity arises. But what do we want from a university when it comes to innovation? We want everything that's been said here already, but we want innovators, you know. We don't sign on the rocket scientists that come out of Wits. We sign on all of the graduates that come out of Wits. And most of our leaders actually come from Wits and TICS. You know, that's where our leaders come from, and we want innovative leaders. We want people, we want leaders who encourage innovation in our organisation. We don't want leaders who are just competent like in the olden days when I graduated. If you were competent, that was good enough. And you know, you developed your innovation skills yourself. Times have changed. We need our leaders to be innovators, number one, and we need our leaders to encourage innovation within their areas of responsibility. So what do we think would be a good thing is for Wits to actually develop innovators. You know, the development of innovators needs to be part of the curriculum of every person that we sign on at the end of the day.
And I know that's something very close to Nithya's heart and very much at the center of what the WIC will be doing. It's to create an innovative mindset. And that's really, and every student coming through this university should acquire some understanding of innovation. So that is our intention.